Hello, and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News Channel. Recently on my streams, I've voiced a little bit of concern about ICX in that I don't really know if their projects use Icon Loop or the public blockchain or not, or what some combination of both, and there wasn't much clarity. Now, I'm going to say like for each particular project, unless they come out with something like this, there isn't really that much clarity, but at least for the Jeju Island project with MyID, which is they're going to process millions of people per year, they are actually using ICX. So that's why it's back in my top 3 recommended coins again, because I know at least this big project is going to use ICX. I wish like in their announcements, they would actually say, hey, this project's using ICX, this project's not using ICX. Because with like VET, I know like those projects are using VET. With ADA, I can kind of know like those projects are using ADA, as long as they're not like private versions of blockchains. With ICX, it's still a little bit uncertain, but we know that this big project will actually use ICX. And this will process millions of people per year. Now, basically, I got an answer. It says yes. I asked like, does it actually use ICX? The MyID thing with Icon Loop, and he says like, yep, it uses the Zzeung app, which utilizes a combination of Icon Project public chain and Icon Loop private chain for the ID verification process. So basically, there's 2 branches. The ones that actually go through the private chain don't really use ICX. The ones that go through the public chain do use ICX. Let's actually take a closer look at it. This is actually from August 22nd of last year, but in this edition of Icon Weekly, Icon Loop launches Zzeung, a COVID-19 contact tracing app deployed on Jeju Island. Now, this is when they were actually piloting it. The pilot is now done, and they're actually deploying it right now. That utilizes the Icon public chain and MyID technology. Let's get into why Zzeung is a big deal for both Icon and the blockchain industry as a whole. So, in last week's update, I wrote about the mysterious MyID related app that a few clever people in the Icon community managed to dig up. This app was called, I can't read the Korean, and it was already live on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Initially, I didn't know if this was the fabled MyID app that I've been waiting for or if it was something else. While the app's sample screenshots showed MyID, the app's name made no mention of it. Earlier this week, Icon Loop made an announcement about this app, which cleared everything up. When translated in English, the name of the app is Zzeung, which I believe is a phonetic translation of the first character of the app's Korean name. Don't quote me on this because I'm not over 99%. I'm only 99% sure. Over the past few months, this is from Brian Lee, we've all been led to believe that MyID will utilize a private chain exclusively, which is now we know not true, with little public chain interaction to start. In fact, the narrative has been one of prevailing arguments against Icon since the inception of the project. How many times have you heard about how MyID has zero positive impact on the Icon public chain in the court of public opinion? With the launch of Zzeung, this narrative no longer holds any weight. Zzeung is a COVID-19 contact tracing app that utilizes Icon Loop's MyID technology to preserve user privacy. Over the coming weeks, Zzeung will be deployed in all 8 districts of Jeju Island, which happens to be the destination of the world's busiest air route. I'm guessing like for public like checking on this stuff, it'll have to be private, which will use ICX. So 65,000 flights, 15 million visitors a year. 65,000 divided by 365, roughly 500, roughly like 500 flights a day, and however many tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of visitors per day. So that's a lot of usage on the Icon blockchain, and that's only one of the places they're actually going to use it. With this new system in place, visitors to Jeju Island will be required to download the Zzeung app and verify their identity. Now, Zzeung is actually public, so the visitors will actually be using the public chain, so that's really cool. I guess this is why iPass, South Korea's blockchain-based identity card, developed by country's top telecom companies, is presented as a login option for Zzeung. After the initial visitor's identity is verified, a cryptographically verified credential is automatically issued on the Icon public blockchain. No, that's not a typo. Zzeung makes use of the Icon public chain and not a private chain that may or may not connect with a public chain someday. So this is no longer theoretical. It is going to use the public chain, and it is actually going to be a pretty big deal for investors. Now, some of you guys have said ICX, price hasn't really moved. I mean, maybe not like this year, but like, from when I started talking about it, which was like really, really early at the beginning of last year, if you've been listening since then, Icon was like something like 11 cents then. It's 74 now, so it's almost 7x since that point. And, and this is not like from that flash crash low point in March. This is actually like January, before that flash crash actually happened last March. So essentially, if you've been looking over the last year and a half, Icon's actually done okay if you've held on all that time. Yes, it hasn't appreciated as much over the last 6 months or so as other coins, but 70 something cents up from 11 is pretty good. And note that the all-time high was like 12 bucks, so still has a very, very long time to go. And with all these developments, I do think it can break that $12 all-time high. So that's my view on Icon. That's why it's back in my top 3 recommended coins. And I think it has a lot of good stuff in the future. And we know now it has a very big verified use case. So that is the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.